My people, my people, my people. We are back one more time. I had to go get my brothers to tap in with me. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to Coach Jay. Shout out to Jans. Gonna miss us. Shout out to Coach Smook. Shout out to Kyle. Shout out to everybody. Right? You know what I'm saying? Definitely feel elated to have my broskies in the house. We're gonna be talking about something today, man. I got a lot of little inbox from you guys. Shout out to Bear. Bear always hit me with the great subjects, man. Listen,
Man, that's good.
lot of people, a lot of people doubting this coaching staff, guys. I ain't gonna mess up this time. Right
Yeah.
to my right, I have the man himself. I have the absolute man himself. If you definitely want to find out the real about this thing we like called football, you ask this guy right here. His name is Ty Hayes, Around the Table Sports. What's up, Ty?
Man, just super humbled to be here as always, Coach. I always tell you, and I always tell everybody, I learn so much from just having the opportunity to talk to yourself, to talk to Jake. So anytime I get the opportunity, I'm here.
Brother, well appreciated, brother. Likewise. And below me, right there, we have the defensive guru himself. When I need to know something about D that I just can't figure out, I don't even beat my head against the wall no more. I call Coach J. Meir. What's up with you, J. Meir?
Yo, what's going on, man? Just a pleasure to be here. As we know, we have a lot of fun when we jump in on these things. And obviously, with your boy Ty and with your boy Coach Sean, it's pretty a lot of fun just to get in here and talk college football, especially when it jumps down to it, Alabama football. Roll
All
Tide.
facts, man. All facts. I couldn't have said it better myself. Listen, guys, I want to hop right into it, man. So we got a lot of people, man, that are confused about this coaching staff. People are so used to having the big names. They're so used to hearing these great position coaches. And I will admit, I won't be a hypocrite. When we didn't get, and I don't want to mess the young man's name up. I know Ty know who I'm talking about. When we didn't get the offensive line coach from Oklahoma, I was a little a little discombobulated. What is it, Beden? How you pronounce it,
Beatenbow.
Ty?
Bill
Beaten
Beatenbow.
Bowl. I did some
Good.
research on this guy, and this guy is absolutely awesome, right? I felt bad because we didn't get this guy, but I'm happy with Coach Cap. I won't lie about it, guys. I'm happy with Coach Cap. We're going to hop right into it. I want to know about this coaching staff. The new staff will experience great success or humble beginnings in year one. What is it? Let's start off with Christian Robinson. Coach J. Merrill, I'm going to start with you. What's up with Christian Robinson? Now, this guy has coached at Florida and Auburn, right? Outside linebackers coach. He's coached at both of these schools. He is no stranger to the SEC, having played in the SEC. What do you think about this guy, and what's your true feeling about this guy?
This is probably for me one of the coaches I'm most excited about. And the reason I say, I mean, it's hard, right? Because we have this brand new revamped coaching staff. We could go through each one and say, we're excited about this guy. We're excited, but when we want to be straight, we want to be real. Let's just be honest, be direct. Coach Robinson, though, tell you what, probably one of the most excited ones out there. And the reason is you look at what he's done as a young coach already. Okay. At Florida, the production in those linebackers was legit. The guys were ballers. He brought out some serious talent, and he was able to probably communicate the concept really, really well. One of the things talked about with him, and they obviously he has so much experience and time in the SEC, is his ability to communicate, his ability to motivate, but his ability to also hold players accountable while getting the best performance he can out of each and every guy. Granted, we see that right now. We're seeing that in the development of our young guys. A lot of people have been talking about this Wolf position. It is probably one of the more exciting positions because of the different style of players you have right now. We can name a number of guys who could go out there and start immediately. The best part is with Coach Robinson, though, is each one of them, he's able to coach to each one of their skill sets, what they are really good at, and then what maybe they need to continue to work on. And he breaks it down in a way that obviously these guys are motivated. You know, if there was one position that everyone questioned and thought maybe would leave in the spring transfer portal, it was that Wolf position, this outside linebacker, because of how deep it is. But guess what? We didn't see anyone leave. Why? Why? And I think we come back to Coach Robinson. We look at what is going on in recruiting too. and we look, and I think that's where we speak to it the most. And Ty, I see you nodding your head on this one too, because the truth is, in the end of the day, Coach Robinson is an all-star recruiter. I think this guy was, I think he was known within the coaching realms, but I think from the outside looking in, he was this diamond in the rough for guys like us who don't quite know all the new up-and-comers. I think Robinson is a special coach. Very excited to watch these guys play, who he's coaching now, but also excited to see the recruits he brings in. Keep an eye, because I think we're going to see some big-time names. We already have, but even more so, maybe a couple more that adds to this recruiting class, thanks to his abilities to really motivate guys and get them ready to play.
Man, that makes me feel a lot better, man. It really does. Ty, what's your thoughts on Christian Robinson, man?
Yeah, I know Jake has been really high on him for a while. In fact, just a few days ago when we were talking about some of the new members of this coaching staff, this was the guy he tabbed on the defensive side of the ball. Not named Wommack, obviously defensive coordinator. There's going to be a lot of intrigue there, and deservedly so. Nick Saban had that defense. Now we transitioned to Wommack's defense. That's a lot of excitement. But Jake has been really high on Robinson, and it's easy to understand why. Whenever we talk, guys, one of the biggest prevailing questions with this coaching staff, with Kalin DeBoer in particular, is you don't know the SEC landscape. And Coach Kalin DeBoer even talked about that hey, I don't know this. And you, unless you acknowledge what you don't know, you're never going to learn. So as soon as he acknowledged that, shout out to Coach Jay, because he's the one who said this. If you guys remember, while we were on that live stream asking, what do you need to hear Coach Kalin DeBoer say? That's exactly what Jant said. I need to hear him say that he doesn't know this area. And he did.
Yeah.
But he went and got a guy that did know the area. And Wommack, who's familiar with the territory. And Robinson, who's familiar with the territory. And like Jake said, I think that's going to help Alabama hit the ground running for some really key and interesting recruits in the class of 2025 and beyond.
That's a fact, man. I feel much, much better about that guy. I did some research as well, man. I agree with both of your assessments, man. I'm really excited about this guy, man. Really excited about this guy and his SEC experience. Let's hop to the offensive side and talk about that offensive line. Starting with Utah, Chris Kapilovic. Now, this guy comes to us from Michigan State. He comes to us. What is your thoughts? I was a little down. We didn't get Bill Bedenbow. Is it Bedenbow?
Yeah.
Did I say that correctly? From Oklahoma, because I keep hearing this guy's the absolute best. I did the research, and his reputation precedes him. But what about Chris Cap? They say this guy's awesome. What is your thoughts, Ty, on Chris Cap?
Yeah, there are some similarities in the philosophy of a Bedenbow and in Coach Cap, and that's where I am intrigued. I don't disagree with you at all, Coach Sean. I've often said, if you're not putting Coach Bill Bedenbow as the number one offensive line coach in the nation, he's top 5. And I don't really know how you argue outside of that. Just look at what he sends to the NFL year after year. And then the contract extensions they get in the NFL. It seems like one of his guys is resetting the market for his position every other time you turn around. But then we talk about Coach Cap. Coach Cap loves a versatile offensive lineman, right? And I think that's going to behoove Alabama. I also love this about Coach Cap, and it's something that we don't talk about a lot, but it's something that I think is absolutely fascinating. This guy has been more than just an offensive line coach. He's been an offensive coordinator. He was an offensive coordinator at Alabama State from 2003 to 2005 while simultaneously serving as offensive line coach. We move forward. At Missouri State, offensive line coach, run game coordinator. He was the co-offensive coordinator at North Carolina and offensive line coach, as well as the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, and offensive line coach from 2015 to 2018 at North Carolina. He was the run game coordinator at North Carolina from 2012 to 2013. Why do I bring that to your attention? Well, because the running back room, Alabama Fields, in my opinion, is unquestionably a top 3 running back unit in all of college football.
Facts.
Top to bottom. Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, Richard Young, Daniel Hill, and Kevin Riley, who's about to be on campus. I mean, where do you go wrong there? You maintain Robert Gillespie as your running back coach, which a lot of other teams out there, gentlemen, tried to lift him from Alabama. And for good reason. The guy is absolutely magic. But now on the offensive line front, Coach Sean, you made a video not long ago. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen that, as soon as you're done with this video, stay on Coach Sean's channel. Go check out that offensive line video and remember what I'm saying right now as you're doing it, because it's going to excite you. This offensive line is going to pin, pull, and move a lot. You have an offensive line coach that has been fantastic at architecting successful rushing attacks, and now he has the Kalin DeBoer scheme behind him. I think this was a really solid hire. I really do. The more I've looked into it, the more time that goes on, the more excited I get. And both the gentlemen on this panel with me have really increased my excitement with Kalin DeBoer's offensive scheme. But now you mix in someone who's as seasoned as Coach Cap at multiple different places, has been an offensive coordinator, has been a run game coordinator. I think Alabama's rushing attack is about to be real dangerous. And this offensive line and Coach Cap could be a major catalyst for it.
Man, that's awesome to hear, bro. That gets me excited about the season. Man, listen, Jake, what is your thoughts on Chris Kapilovic?
Oh man, Coach Cap, man, Juice Squad, baby. You guys want to talk about getting pumped up? You want a coach that brings the energy every single day. I think that's one of the beautiful things about the coaches staff that we do have in place. They all bring it in different ways, right? And we've seen that in some of the videos and hype videos released by University of Alabama Athletics and what they're doing, right? And their media team. Love those videos. But just getting into Cap's background, a lot like what Ty just said, okay? And it was really impressive if you look through his resume. I mean, he's been doing this a long time.
Yes,
a long time. He's one of the tenured offensive line coaches in the nation, one of the most tenured offensive line coaches in the nation. I mean, he even goes all the way down to start his coaching career in a high school rank. Like, again, another guy who comes from a unique foundation of starting small and gaining experience throughout this time of coaching. And now he's at the premier of premier universities, University of Alabama, where you can truly utilize the skill set that you can recruit there, utilize the resources that you have there to be above and beyond anything we've seen. I have been big, and I have been saying this nonstop. I said, guess what? This offensive line is I think a Joe Moore award winning, to compete for it at least, type of offensive line. I really do. Will they win it? There's a lot of good offensive lines this year in the NCAA. We'll see in Division I football. We'll see what happens. But I do think tenured wise, this offensive line, you look at returning 4 starters. I count Parker Brailsford as a starter. I will say that over and over again. The guy is coming into his own offense and starting at center. It's a starter. Okay. So we return 4 starters, right? 2 in which, take that back. And you guys remind me, did Caden Proctor, was he nominated as a freshman All-American?
Yes, he was.
Whoa, everybody. Thinking that one right there. So what? We have 4 potential All-Americans on the line with Booker, with Roberts, with Caden Proctor, with Brailsford. And then, Ty, you've been high on him, and I believe you when you say it, and you've brought it up a lot. And Coach Sean, I've heard you bring this up too with Welcome Formby.
It's a fact.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not writing off these other guys with Pritchett, with McVay, with there is so much talent there. And if anybody can get everybody up to speed and play as one synchronized unit, you have the right coach for it. Really, truly do. I'm excited to see what he does with the talent that he has. These guys with the communication, with the experienced center that he's able to utilize to continue to help these guys understand this concept faster and faster and faster. I mean, again, this guy has so much experience. I mean, and we want to talk about what he's done from a standpoint. Just look at North Carolina, look at Michigan State. Guess who won the Doak Walker Award or the Doak Walker Award? Michigan State, right? And who was that? Who was that? It was Kenneth Walker the third, right?
Kenneth Walker the third,
Baller, breaking records. Guess who's paving the way for that is that offensive line at Michigan State at that time frame. Then we could jump over to UNC. And this was brought up to me as something I didn't even know. We look at the 2 running backs and what they were able to do there, but also the passing game at USC, North Carolina, broke records, right? One of the top offensive lines in the nation, minimizing sacks. It gets Trubisky. What was he, the 2nd pick of the NFL draft?
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky, right? Look what he was able to do in that offense. I mean, that's Coach Cap calling the offense. That's coaching the line. That's putting all the concepts together. If Kalin DeBoer was a genius in what he just did, a genius, everybody. And this is why I'm so high and excited and probably juiced up a little bit after hearing what Coach Cap is going to bring. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really am. I think Coach Cap Kapilovic is amazing, but goes by Coach Cap. He's a good coach. I'm very, very excited for him.
Man, that makes me feel even better too, man. I don't think I'll miss beating Bo, man. Shout out to Coach Cap, man. I cannot wait to see this guy.
I'm
for real.
Too, man.
You know what I mean? Let's move on to Brian Ellis, man. Tight ends coach. Ty, back to you. Listen, now this guy comes to us from Georgia Southern, where he was an offensive coordinator and a quarterbacks coach. Brian Ellis. Give me your true thoughts, Ty, on Brian Ellis.
Gentlemen, I want to echo something Jake just said. Some of the moves Kalin DeBoer did are truly different.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Dare I say Alabama just got a diamond in the rough that college football will know about soon. Gentlemen, I've been telling you a few names that are on my short list of coaches that may not be household names yet. Give it time. Right, I've talked about Samples, the running back coach now at Oregon, one of the youngest assistant coaches in the NFL when he was at the Los Angeles Rams, ties to North Texas. I've talked about Brennan Marriott, who was the Pittsburgh wide receiver coach whenever Jordan Addison and those guys were just absolutely lighting it up, has the go-go offense, goes to Texas. We know how that goes now. Offensive coordinator at UNLV. Add in Brian Ellis to that short list. This is a guy that was at Western Kentucky and set offensive records with Bailey Zappi there.
Yeah.
To get him as your tight ends coach, with how successful he's been as a passing game coordinator, as an offensive coordinator, working with offenses, this is a stroke of genius right here.
Yes.
Because now when I look at this offense, and I'm going to extend past Ellis if I may, you have Coach Shephard, who is the passing game coordinator at Washington, right? Who did great things with those wide receivers. 3 of them just drafted. And I mean, you look at those wide receivers, they thought very highly of him. He's already killing it on the recruiting trail. You have Coach Cap, who Coach Jake just told you did unbelievable things as a run game coordinator at Michigan State as well. He was an assistant head coach, run game coordinator, offensive line coach at Michigan State as well. And then with your tight ends coach, you get Coach Ellis, who has been that successful at that young age. This is a really great hire. And when you look at the tight ends he has to work with, you have got to be excited. You have CJ Dippre. You have Danny Lewis. You have got Josh Cuevas. You've got Oots. You've got a lot of potential in that room that he's going to be able to take advantage of. But also for a guy like Jalen Milroe, he is now surrounded by brilliant offensive minds that have done this, that have been successful at implementing what they do. And this is going to make the entire offense better, not just the tight ends.
Whoa.
What about you, Jake?
Bringing the heat, Ty. Oh,
I'm excited about this one.
You're spot on, dude. Like, this is probably one of, again, I alluded to this. Ty nailed on the head. With just overall saying, like, look what KD is doing with his staff, right? Just from an overall standpoint, and the guys he's bringing in to really understand each area. They all have this experience of running these high-flying, powerful offenses from a standpoint, whether it's the run game, whether it's the pass game, but also being innovative in taking their own concepts and utilizing them to break records. Again, we go back to Brian Ellis, 2022, Georgia Southern breaking all the school passing records, all of them. The next season, again, you look to the wide receiver who leaves Statesboro owning just about every record in the book. I mean, that's crazy in Hood. And that's all from Brian Ellis. That's at Georgia Southern. Ty already spoke to you, right? I keep going this way. Remember, got to go this way. Ty already spoke to you, about Western Kentucky, right? And then also a little bit prior with his experience, right? Brian Ellis is a very, very smart, upcoming, diamond in the rough, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's great the way KD surrounds himself with phenomenal coaches. Phenomenal coaches. We have already highlighted 3 of them, but he's done a really good job. This is where like relationships come into play, right? And you
Yeah.
look at Brian Ellis, each one of these guys builds phenomenal relationships. You look at some of the recruits they're going after. One of them I'll bring up, Lincoln Cure, a phenomenal athlete, right? And we have there's a number of tight ends, right? But you look at the way Brian Ellis comes across. You can go out and see him, give shout outs from the field. A lot of these guys are doing that nowadays. They're in practice. They give a little FaceTime. What's up, man? We can't wait to see you here on campus. So-and-so, right? His personality, another guy who comes across is like, dang, that's somebody I would really like to hang out with, right? You that feel. But not to mention, Brian's just very, very smart. He understands his football IQ is very, very high. And his ability to be another just addition in voice in the room with no ego. Remember, ego is the killer of teams.
Yeah.
There's no ego here, guys. Nobody has ego. They all just want to win. It's all about winning and winning together as a family. Brian's another guy. Yeah, Ty, do it.
Well, and I forgot to say this. Do you know what he was doing in 2018, gentlemen?
Yeah.
What's
he was
that?
the quarterback coach at USC whenever JT Daniels had his most successful season in college as a true freshman. That was Brian Ellis. This guy has coached quarterbacks. He has been an offensive quality control coach. He has coached offensive coordinators.
Wow.
He has been an inside wide receiver coach and a tight ends coach.
Yeah.
This could be a brilliant hire.
Brilliant.
Fire, bringing the fire. That's what I'm talking about, man. Hearing these great things about these guys and seeing it myself just justifies these great hires, man. Let's move on to Maurice Linguist. Now, this guy's a defensive backs coach, corners. This guy comes to us from being a head coach at Buffalo. Jake, start with you on this one. Defensive guy. What is your feel on Maurice Linguist?
So, man, Coach Mo, right? Coach Mo.
Coach Mo.
I love Coach Mo, everybody. Coach Mo, though, I think is one of those guys that people, I think we're just so unsure. They're like, whoa, who is this guy? And not trying to throw any shade, but I think he has bounced a number of different places because of his skill set, right? And because in general, that's what you do in the kind of the coaching football world in order to enhance and get yourself into these better positions and gain knowledge. And gain knowledge. So he's coached here. He's coached in the SEC. Had a part of the Texas A&M. I guess overall that big recruiting class that was Studley class. He's part of that coaching squad, right? Moves over to Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys have a top 10 pass defense at that time frame in the NFL where he's coaching there. And then you're right. Moves over to Buffalo. Little different. I think we can all say that going from a position coach or a coordinator into, like a head coaching position is it's difficult, man. It really is. I mean, you go from Dallas Cowboys where you're running as a DB coach, then you immediately jump into a head ball coach. There's a lot of different responsibilities, and and at times it can be hard, right? And so I'm not saying from that standpoint that Coach Mo was maybe not ready for that. Not at all. He knows his stuff. He's very, very, very smart. What I love about him. But I think the thing is I think for him too, is maybe jumping back and getting some other pieces into place as he moves forward through his career ascension, because he is going to ascend back into a head coaching role. We're going to see him ascend a D coordinator role. I see him being one of these guys who is so key, and we've already seen it in the 2026 recruits that we've gotten in Gordon and Barney, right? You have Coach Mo, who's very much a part of that recruiting process, who's connected with these guys. There's a reason these guys are very high in him. We've already heard some other names of 2025 DBs starting to take notice, right? And I think what's going to be key is this next season when we see Coach Mo out there and we see his players out there, we get to see the type of product he puts on the field with these defensive backs. And what's beautiful is they're young defensive backs. So you really get to see how well he coaches. I'm telling you, he's a technical guru. He's going to motivate you. He's going to help you correct it. And he's going to put in all that work to make you the best you can be. I love what Coach Mo brings from his background, his playing background at Baylor, right?
Yeah.
if I'm correct. Yep. And so, oh no, it says with Mo, did he play at Baylor? Did he play at Baylor, guys?
I
I
thought
don't
he played at
know.
Baylor.
I thought he did too.
Yep, he played at Baylor from 2003 to 2006.
Yeah. Okay. So from that standpoint, you see him in there. I was looking at that and something popped up and I'm like, wait a minute. No, he played Baylor.
Yeah.
But I think overall, just with his abilities, man, he really knows the game really well. I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see how he continues to show us what he can do, because I think he's been almost a little bit on the quiet side, right?
Yeah.
We've been a lot of question marks around what's going on with our DB recruiting. Where's our DB recruiting? What's going on with our guys? So everyone's kind of waiting and watching, but I think he's going to really show what he's made of. Just got to give him time, right? He's going to do a great job. So love Coach Mo.
Ty?
Yeah, so with Coach Mo, sorry, I was making sure I had my notes right in front of me. That way I could make a principled argument, right?
Oh yeah.
Whenever we talk about a lot of these assistant coaches, one of the things that people want to know, and especially Bama fans, right? We've been spoiled, especially with Nick Saban and the recruiting. What are your recruiting ties? Let's talk about that with Coach Mo before I get into some of his wins and why I'm excited. So for recruiting ties, born in Dallas, Texas, need I say more? Do I need to go through the high schools in the DFW Metroplex and the immense amount of talent there? Okay, that's great. He was then with Texas A&M in the Houston region. So not only does he have ties to Dallas, he has ties to Houston. I go forward, Valdosta, Georgia. Okay, so he's got ties to the two biggest markets in Texas and in Georgia. The East Coast, North, whenever he was at Minnesota, and he's coached at Mississippi State before.
Yes,
the guy's got pretty extensive ties. Now let's talk about some of his wins. Y'all know a guy, and I know he is an opponent, Leon O'Neal Jr. He recruited him.
Yeah.
5-star Jalen Jones from Cibola Steel, Texas. He recruited him. The number one safety in the nation in his respective recruiting class, a top 25 player in the nation. But how about some guys that you know from the NFL level? What about Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver at Minnesota? Yeah. That was Mo Linguist. What about Jonathan Abrams, the defensive back for the Raiders?
Beast.
Mo Linguist.
Yeah.
The guy has been successful recruiting. And what I love, guys, is when I look at someone like a Mo Linguist or any of these assistant coaches and I see, oh, your staff sent you after everybody and anybody. They weren't worried about you being a cornerbacks coach and only getting cornerbacks. They said, go get them.
Yeah.
You are great at building relationships. You are great at forming these positive bonds. Go get them, regardless of the position. That's something Nick Saban did so well.
Yeah.
I mean, you would see Roach after everybody and anybody, right? Because he is a great recruiter. Mo Linguist has proved to be that before. Now, I'm going to just lightly touch on why I'm excited. All these guys want to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
Mo Linguist coached for the Dallas Cowboys at the cornerback coach position. Now, I agree. I think that staying at Alabama is going to do wonders for his career if he stays 2 to 3 years. But what I will say, and Jake, you talked about this, so I completely agree with you. It's one thing to move around a lot. It's another thing to get upgrades in your field of work.
That's right, man.
He's only ever gotten upgrades, right? Like he was a cornerback coach to a head coach.
That's right.
That's an upgrade. He's 40 years old. And he was 37, 36 at the time where he got the head coaching job at Buffalo. Come on now.
Impressive.
Come on now, right? Very excited he's on our side.
That's right.
Wow, man. Absolute awesome intel. Love that. I got a good feeling about Mo as well, man. This guy, all these guys on the same staff is amazing. And you can't even speak amazing without speaking about this next guy. Let's stay with defense. Back to you, Jake. What is your thoughts on co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach, Colin Hitschler? Now, we all know Colin comes to us from Wisconsin. We all know his background. He's been on some great coaching staffs. What's your true feeling about Colin?
Man, great. I'm glad we went to him next. I do. I'm glad we're doing this secondary. I just love the secondary. Colin is again tagged as this up and coming superstar of a coach, right? What's interesting with Colin is you look back real quick on his like kind of experience, right? Like with Colin, he from 2009 he into almost 2010. He's only like basically an assistant at a camp for Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. He's a player personnel assistant. Then he moves over to Sal Regina. Have you guys ever heard of this place? Sal Regina, right? And he's a special teams coordinator, D-line coach. And then we really start to see him start to progress. And this is interesting. Hold on here. You look at 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, he's over at South Alabama. Interesting, right? Because guess who else is over there? And we're talking Kane Wommack, right? We're looking at that connection, and this is where we start to see it. Very, very interesting, where we start to say, oh, wait, that's how he gets tagged. But what's even cooler is then we jump over to Cincinnati. And this is where everyone really gets excited with Hitschler, right? And he has this connection to the Cincinnati teams that are studs. And Ty, I'm sure you're going to touch on some of those players, so I'm not going to bring them up because Ty's going to bring them up. But here's where I'm at, is Colin is able to grow himself through this coaching time frame, seeing some NFL stuff, being in the back office, understanding some of these things, understanding like seeing the coaches coach, right? What do they look at? What do they need? How do you get successful? Then he jumps over, he gets some experience from these maybe a little bit of smaller schools, right? Over at Widener, I think it is, in Pennsylvania, Arkansas State. Then he makes that move to South Alabama. He gets to learn kind of this style of defense, right? And really get into these athletes, and has a really good understanding of the state of Alabama. Interesting. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. That's a new fact for me too, that I'm figuring out about him. And I love it. That's where that connection was. I think a lot of people were trying to figure that out for a long time, but now it makes more sense. Okay. Next thing you know, he gets to Cincinnati. And this is where we start to see him really shine as a coach, and really hit it as a safeties coach. I know Ty's going to touch on this a little bit too on the next one, but from there he's at Wisconsin, right? And we know what he did recruiting wise at Wisconsin. I'm excited for Coach Hitschler. I'm excited for what he's about to do. I'm excited for who he is as a person, but also as a coach. And I know Ty's going to feed you a little more details, and I'm not going to take his fire.
Yeah. What Jake has in level of excitement for Coach Robinson, which I absolutely understand. He and I have had this conversation. That's how I feel about Colin Hitschler on the defensive side. Right. And on the offensive side, it's either Shephard or Ellis, right? Like either one of those guys I am pumped up about having. But Hitschler is interesting to me because when you look at what he did at Cincinnati and you look at the way that Cincinnati kind of revered this guy, there's good reason. I mean, you look at the Cincinnati team where if we look at their defensive stats in 2021, the Bearcats defense ranked 5th nationally in scoring defense, only allowing 16.5, number 10 in total defense, and they only allowed 4.5 yards per a play. That's insane, right?
It is.
They had the nation's best pass defense in pass efficiency at 103.37, the number 2 in passing yards allowed at 169.2, number 3 in the nation in interceptions. Mind you, whenever Wommack was over at Indiana, they led the nation in interceptions. So you have Hitschler, who is top 5 in takeaways from an interceptions perspective, and Wommack, who was doing great things when he was calling the defense. I already know some people might comment and say, well, when he was head coach at South Alabama, it was less than favorable at some points. It's much different being the guy who's hands-on with your own product, being able to mold the clay, as opposed to being the guy who owns the pottery store and now has to watch the apprentice mold the clay, right? 2 totally different things. Now he's back to molding the clay, and that's going to be a beautiful sculpture. You mix these two together, I am so excited. Now, Jake, you were talking about recruiting. Colin Hitschler was a top recruiter in the nation, top 20 in the nation at Wisconsin. And why that's so interesting, you look at the top recruiters in the nation, you might have 3 from Alabama. You might have 2 or 3 from Georgia, 2 from LSU. Well, let's say I say 3 from Bama, 3 from Georgia, 2 from LSU. That's 8 from 3 schools.
Yep.
So to be at Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
make that list, it shows you this is a guy you need to be excited about. And I can't wait for the season just to see what this defensive backfield's going to look like.
Boom on Colin. Boom on him, man. Young coaches that are hungry and are making their way at the University of Alabama. This next guy should be they actually should fall right in this category. Jameer, give me your thoughts, coach, on Jamarcus Shephard.
Oh man, we go back to the Washington roots.
Yes.
Jamarcus Shephard, my man. I have been really high on Jamarcus Shephard for a long time. I was high on him when he was at Washington.
Yeah.
We got to really see the production of those wide receivers. You look at Shephard, right? And with Shephard, his experience in general, again, comes from a high school, right? Northrop High School, Indiana, running backs. Broad Ripple High School, Indiana, running wide receivers and DBs. Then he moves into Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky. You know who else comes from Western Kentucky? Brian Ellis.
Connections. Yeah.
Guess what, guys? There's a reason why they're all connected for a certain reason.
It's a fact.
There's a reason why KD puts this together. You guys got to think about this. Start connecting these dots. What is he putting together? He's putting together a spider web that cannot be broken. You ain't getting out. So, all right, put it that way. So you look at Shephard. I mean, his production from University of Washington, you look at the wide receivers. Before Jalen McMillan gets hurt, you look at him in 2022. You got Polk, who also is coming up in 2022. And then you obviously had Rome Odunze. The production of those wide receivers was insane. Top production nationwide from groups of this pack of wide receivers. Then you jump over, right? And you jump over to 2023, this last run into a national championship. Sadly, Jalen McMillan gets hurt. Okay. But what do we see? We see guys step up. And now we get to see one of them play full time here at University of Alabama. You see guys like Jeremy Bernard, right? You see Jalen Polk make a huge step in his overall development in just demonstrating that he truly is a starting wide receiver. He's not a rotational guy. We got to see his dominance, right? Again, resulting in high draft pick. Then you jump over to Rome Odunze, who truthfully, from a challenging standpoint, everyone wants to, Neighbors was a great wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. But when all you do is run fly routes and your quarterback runs around and just dumps them for you and you beat everybody just because you're a Blazer, does it translate to true skill, a skill set as a wide receiver? I don't know. I will see in the NFL, and I think he's going to do well. But Rome Odunze, this guy is a dominant wide receiver one. This is the dude that you match up one-on-one and you put in the position because he's articulates the ball so well in the air. What do I mean by articulates the ball in the air? How is he able to see it? How is he able to position himself? How is he able to make that read and say, okay, here's where the ball is coming. I push myself into this position. He breaks it down to a science while going 100 miles per hour. And uses his body, his size to dominate. But where's he learned that from? Because Rome Odunze, 2 years prior, was he doing that? Yeah, he was a decent player, 4-star player out of high school, but was he doing that? No. Here's where it starts to happen. It's all through Jamarcus Shephard. You want to talk about crisp routes. You want to talk about fine-tuning skills. You want to talk about making sure you can cut on a dime, that you are not making mistakes even a quarter inch on your cuts, the way you position your body and the way you see and show a defensive back maybe this look, but then give them this look when you're running 100 miles per hour. Jamarcus Shephard is the guy to get you and fine-tune you that way. Hence why we are seeing the wide receivers that are looking at this program right now that are the top wide receivers in the nation, because you have to question, you have to ask yourself, Caleb Cunningham said it best, if you want to be the greatest, I'm pretty sure this is where you got to come.
It's a fact.
And I hope we get Caleb Cunningham. Caleb, you watch this video, bro, you said it. Come on over, brother. Go be a number 2, number 3 draft pick as a wide receiver. I love it, man. But yeah, Ty, man, to you.
Yeah,
Talk to me, Ty.
I'm not going to have to add much to that. I will add 2 things, though. First, what does he do when he first gets to Alabama? He gets a win for Ryan Williams, who we we throw the word generational out a lot. And as fans, I understand it. I know there are some people frustrated by it, and I get that frustration, but I understand the fan perspective. You're so excited for this young phenom that word is easily thrown around. For Ryan Williams, it fits. This guy has a
It does.
different level of
Yeah.
ability. A 10.49 as a sophomore.
It's a
That's
fact.
insane. His understanding and ability to run a complete route tree as a junior, it's not normal. Understanding how to attack defensive back based on, can I spin your head around? The second I spin you one way, I'm cutting back the other way, and you're done. You reach, I teach, right? Same philosophy. Whenever we talk about Ryan Williams, guys, the one thing we have to understand is there were longer standing relationships at Auburn. There were longer standing relationships at Texas. And yet Jamarcus Shephard was able to, with this staff, get a big win for Ryan Williams. That's awesome, right? Because that's a guy that I think instantly set the tone for the excitement on the Kalin DeBoer era, was getting Ryan Williams. I think that completely made people in the Alabama fan base look at this Kalin DeBoer hire and be more relieved, getting Ryan Williams back in the class. But let's talk about some of the guys he's coached under. You ready for a wild ride?
Yeah,
let's talk about the offensive minds or just individuals he's coached under. He's coached under Willie Taggart. He's coached under Jeff Brom. He's coached under Bobby Petrino. He's coached under the Pirate himself, Mike Leach. Rest in peace. And now under Kalin DeBoer. You want to talk about a guy that has got a great base from great mentors? Yeah. Coach Shephard has been under some really impressive dudes, and I'm very glad he's at Alabama.
100%.
Listen, when you named off those guys, you get chills just thinking about the offensive mind power this guy's been around. That is amazing. I didn't know that, man. Wow. Mike Leach and Jeff Brom.
Isn't that
and
wild,
Petrino
Coach?
and Kalin DeBoer.
Petrino, man, come on, man. So yeah, we're blessed to have this young man. Blessed to have him.
Ice.
Exactly.
That's everything.
Yes. Yes. Crazy.
Love it, man.
So transitioning from Shep, offense, wide receivers, transitioning to the man on defense. The man, we're gonna skip to him. Jameer, tell me about Kane Wommack.
Yes, the man, Wommack. Wommack, man, I tell you what, this is one guy I'm really high on. Obviously, if you watch his interviews, what he does, this guy is I think he's this defensive genius. I really do. Yeah. I think he takes these concepts and he continues to make himself better. You know, we look at his progression from a coaching standpoint and how far he's come, right? He starts off at the GA over at Ole Miss. I think he moves through, I forgot which school he jumps to next. And then if somebody has that up, that'd be awesome. But I think the thing is with Wommack, right, is like he goes from this progression, right? And he continuously look at every place he's been, every single place he's been. And it's amazing. Like his overall production in his defense and how he's able to take some of these programs, and we've talked about this before on different things, but he takes some of these programs where their rankings are, you know, they're over 100 ranked for defensive turnovers, points per game, yards against, right? And then he goes there and man, they drop all the way down to like 50. Shoot, Indiana drops, I think there's points and times where Indiana's like a top 15. And so really, really impressive with what Wommack does, but he comes from these SEC ties, right? And he grew up watching this. He's able to mesh, right? And Ty, you're right. I thought you gave me that note. It was Eastern Illinois. Go check that out because that's a really good. That's I think one of his very first coaching defensive coordinator positions, right? Yeah. And then he's able to earn that and jump to Indiana, and then I think from there is it Southern Alabama, or is it Southern Alabama first? I gotta check that out, but because it's one of those progressions. But each one of those, you just look at what he does. But he comes from this like family. His dad's a defensive coordinator, leads Ole Miss at one point with this style of defense to the number one defense in the nation, right? Helps Georgia Tech win an ACC title with this defense back in the day. But Kane has a chance to watch it over and over and over, refine it, utilize it, and see where he can take these concepts of great
Yeah.
coordinators, great defensive minds, such as Nick Saban, and mix it right into his own defense. And you see it. I mean, he progresses, right? Eastern Illinois, South Alabama, Indiana, right? And then from Indiana, he goes back to South Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's a little different there from that standpoint because South Alabama, you're coming back like as a head coach, right? So we've talked about that. Ty, you just touched on that from a head coaching aspect with Mo, right? And like also overseeing, it's different than when you're the one doing the, building it compared to overseeing it, right? So I think he gets to get back to his roots, and you can feel the excitement. And and the best part is, man, this guy's so close with Sheridan and Kalin DeBoer. Like those are some of his best friends. They're going to have a lot of fun doing this. And I think he's the type of guy that everyone around him feels that energy. And he just as much as anyone else will be accountable to making sure he brings it every day. So that way every other guy knows they got to bring it every day. I'm excited for Kane Wommack in this defense.
Ty?
Yeah, for Wommack, I'm not going to say much. Whenever we look at Indiana, the unit he was a part of was the 5th most improved nationally in scoring defense with a differentiation of 10 points from the year before. That's very impressive. And they ranked in the top 10 nationally in pass defense. They were at the top of the nation in takeaways. And like I just got done saying, gentlemen, he went to South Alabama, where he was the defensive coordinator, put up all these great numbers. And I know there are questions, and questions are great, ladies and gentlemen. If you are someone that has those questions, that's healthy. Like, a healthy skepticism is an amazing thing to have, and I'm here for it. But take that with that skepticism, this right here. It's much different, as I gave you in that analogy, being the pottery master, the one who's hands-on making the beautiful art out the clay, to then opening up your own store. And now all of a sudden you have to be the CEO and you got to hire an apprentice. And now that person is in charge of being hands-on with the clay. And sometimes beautiful art comes. Sometimes that pot shatters. And that's just the nature of it, right? But now he's back hands-on with the clay. And we know what's happened there. The last thing I'll say about Kane Wommack is, and this is something Jake and I have talked about, Coach, this is something you and I have talked about, complementary styles.
Yeah.
He knows Kalin DeBoer. Kalin DeBoer knows Wommack. They're going to be able to complement each other's styles, and that's exactly what you're looking for.
That is amazing, man. That is amazing. I've listened to a couple of his interviews, and both of you guys hit the nail right on the head with this guy. Highly intelligent, highly intelligent with defensive skills, and I cannot wait to see this young man. Hopping from Kane Wommack on the defensive side, DC, straight to the OC, Nick Sheridan. Ty, let's start with you. Nick Sheridan, offensive coordinator. What am I getting with this guy?
So with Nick Sheridan, you've got a guy that is really well versed in how to coach quarterbacks. He was a quarterback. And when we look, who did he recruit? Who did he develop? None other than first-round draft pick, top 15 draft pick in the NFL draft, and curse you, Atlanta, for taking him, because I was hoping my Vikings would be able to get him. But no, you had to ruin a dream, kick a young man's dream, all the above. Michael Penix Jr.
That's right, man.
We talk a lot about Kalin DeBoer's impact on Michael Penix, and that cannot be overstated. I mean, it certainly was there. Do not discount Nick Sheridan's impact on Michael Penix. And I know everybody was excited for Grubb. Deservedly so, right? Really smart guy. I was excited for Grubb. I didn't think he was going to leave. Got that one wrong. But that's why we do this, to learn.
Facts.
But, gentlemen, you want to know why I never panicked? Because you have Sheridan. And whenever we talk about Jalen Milroe, now Jalen Milroe has Kalin DeBoer. And Grubb was an offensive line guy, right? Let's understand that. Nick Sheridan was the quarterback guy.
Yeah.
And you keep him. Nick Sheridan, I am really excited about. He's a former quarterback. He is responsible, or in part responsible, for developing one of the better quarterbacks of the past few years in Michael Penix, who should have been in New York 2 years in a row. Voters.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
unbelievable.
I digress. I don't want to scare anybody off, right? I get a little angry. Jake, I pass it to you.
Yeah. So Nick Sheridan, I think everybody was like, they were like, oh, who are they going to get when Grubb leaves, right?
Yeah.
But I've talked a lot about Grubb previously, and I'll tell you, man, like it was interesting because everyone's so used to seeing Grubb with DeBoer for so long. You're right. Grubb was an offensive line guy. So what did
Hmm.
Grubb like to do a lot of, right? He'd really like to establish the run. He really wanted to establish the run. That wasn't always the option that we could do with some of the teams he had coached at, whether it was with Kalin at different schools, but mainly at Washington. They just didn't
Yeah.
always have. They didn't have that run game. It wasn't
Great point.
necessarily there. So it's a very interesting to get to hand the reins over. You're still guiding it, right? But you're handing reins over. As Kalin had handed it over to Grubb, now he's handing it back to Nick because Nick kind of took him a little bit from Kalin at Indiana and learned some really valuable stuff. I will tell you right now, okay, right now, that this is going to be very, very interesting from a standpoint of how Nick runs this offense, but better yet, the development of Jalen Milroe.
That's a
The
fact.
man. Dude, I'm so high. The guy's going to win the Heisman. I'm going to tell you guys right now. Boom. There you go. Drop the mic.
Put it
He's
into
winning the
existence.
Heisman.
Boom. Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, like you look at what Sheridan does, right? He does for Penix at Indiana. Penix at some point, right? While he's at Indiana, it looks like there's a point in time where Penix is one of the leading the nation in passing yards. There's a point in time where before he gets injured, where Penix is being considered even for like Heisman talks while he's at Indiana. Insane. That's before he gets hurt, right? But then we also jump down to Sheridan's experience, and you look at him from a standpoint of what else he gets to coach. He gets to work with Joshua Dobbs over at Tennessee. Okay?
Yeah.
So Sheridan has SEC experience, everybody. Guess what? So, because everyone wants to just talk about what he did in Indiana, but he does have experience in the SEC. He's working with Josh Dobbs at Tennessee. Ends up being drafted. You know what I'm saying? Very, very. Dobbs finishes his career 7,138 yards, fifth most in UT history. And they throw the ball a shit ton.
They did. It's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
a fact.
you look at what he's done and where he continues to jump to and what he's helped with. He is a true quarterback's coach, and he's really good at development. He's the one who recruits Michael Penix. He sees him. That's his eye. Someone I'm going to say his name right now, that Sheridan is watching hard. We all know, we've all talked about it, is Keelan Russell. Are you coming, buddy? Come on over. Come on over. You just saw what Penix did, and now you got the guy who basically helped develop him and the head coach who was right there next to him all day. Imagine what you're going to be. Pretty fun. You got 4 years for that, too. That's going to be a good time, buddy.
Oh, fact.
Alabama is where you need to be. But I'll tell you, man, Nick Sheridan, just very excited what he brings to the table, his mindset. I think we're going to see some fun offense to watch this season under Sheridan.
Listen, I'm so excited to see Nick. You know, I'm an offensive guy. I cannot wait to see this young man here. Shout out to him. These next two guys, I want to couple them together because they are the only two holdovers, stayovers, returners, if you will, from Coach Saban's staff, right? These guys are vets here now. They both got raises and different titles. That is Freddie Roach, the associate, head coach and D-line coach, and Robert Gillespie, the assistant head coach and running backs. So starting with you, Ty, give me your thoughts on Freddie Roach and Robert Gillespie, the two holdovers from Coach Saban's staff.
I think this was one of the biggest moves, and we've already talked about. I mean, we've gone 50 minutes, gentlemen, about big moves that Kalin DeBoer has made. But I could make a principled argument that at the forefront of all of that was retaining these two gentlemen,
Facts.
Freddie Roach and Robert
100.
Gillespie. So I'm not going to speak long on this. Robert Gillespie has been a home run recruiter and running back coach since he's been there. He got Richard Young and Justice Haynes in the same class.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
He got Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley in the same class.
Yeah.
And he is going to pull two more fantastic running backs in this upcoming class. Turbo Rogers looks to be one. Who the other one is, can't wait to find out and be surprised. But unbelievable running back coach. Multiple teams came after him, and yet he chose to stay at Alabama. That's big, right? The fact that big name teams wanted him. We go over to Freddie Roach. Same argument. He got calls. He stayed. This guy bleeds crimson. He played for Alabama. And he has been a fantastic recruiter for the Crimson Tide. One of those guys I talked about earlier that the previous staff would just say, go get him.
Yeah.
And he got him. These two right here, massive wins for Alabama to be able to retain both of these guys. I think it's going to help set the tone. Now that Freddie Roach has Robinson right next to him, they're going to be able to recruit together. He's got Kane Wommack. It's a new energy around Alabama. And for these two guys to stay, I think not only is it big for Alabama, but it's big for both of them and their futures. Because now they get to put on their resume, hey, not only did I learn from Nick Saban, I was under Kalin DeBoer as well. That's massive.
That's massive. Jameer?
Like, man, I cannot say enough about these two guys. And I mean, and you know what? The thing is everybody knows, right? Everybody knows how crucial they are, but I don't think they realize, as Ty just said, like just what a key integral piece each one played, right? Gillespie is, I could argue easily, he's the best running back coach in the nation.
Facts.
Easily make you that argument every single day. All you have to do is look at what he's produced out of the backfields he's coached, what they've done going forward into the NFL. If you are a running back and you get the chance to be coached by this guy and you want to play in the NFL, you probably should take the opportunity. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, all you got to do is look at what he's done. Even if you got to wait your turn, look at the guys who did wait their turn. And guess what? You know what's cool in this offense? You don't got to wait your turn, because this offense is going to allow these guys each to be productive. Can you imagine Kalin DeBoer's offense when you have when you basically got a triple-headed lion sitting there to do damage and blow up these holes that this beast of an offensive line is going to do? But Kalin's going to put you in positions of success where you get a win one-on-one even as a running back, not just a wide receiver. Sheridan's going to put you in those positions. And you got Gillespie, and then not to mention, Gillespie coaches with Coach Cap over at North Carolina under record-breaking offenses. Guess what they produce there? You see what I'm saying? Like, these guys continue to tune it out. And we go back to saying, what is Kalin DeBoer doing? He's weaving everything together. You know? He gets J.M. Miller, right?
Yeah.
Like J.M. Miller. Right. I know you had brought up the other ones, Ty, but you also look at J.M. Miller. I mean, if you are a running back, this is where you want to go. I truly say running back you. It is fair to say Alabama is running back you. No doubts about that. And it will not change just because we got Kalin DeBoer. I think everyone thinks they're going to see all it's going to be is high flying offenses down the ball down the field, right? I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think you're going to see a very balanced attack, but an attack that consistently transitions in a way that almost scares you because you don't know what they're going to hit you with.
Yes, sir.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
Flip over. Go ahead, Coach.
I forgot about that class where he got Jam Miller and Emmanuel Henderson.
Yes.
Two more top 10 running backs in the nation.
E-Man was a running back in the state. He was a running back coming out of high school.
5-star as well.
Yeah. Man, listen, I'm so excited for this guy too, man. All these guys. I saved this young man for last. I know Jameer has an extensive history in understanding who this guy is coming from this. I'm going to save you for last on this one, Jameer.
Gotcha.
Ty, give me your final thoughts on Coach Kalin DeBoer. What are we getting with Coach KD?
A winner. Period. Guy has won everywhere he has gone. Now, you can try and reduce what he did before Washington, and I always get so frustrated when people do this. Coach, one of my biggest pet peeves in life is bad arguments. Whether made from a place, and I understand if it's made from a place of misunderstanding. Everybody does that. I'm guilty of it.
Thanks.
But I hate bad faith arguments made from a place of facetiousness or disingenuousness. And that is what I find a lot of people to make against Kalin DeBoer. They talk about his Sioux Falls stuff and say, oh, well, that doesn't count. As if he had the 85 Bears. He didn't.
Yeah.
He had a Sioux Falls level team going up against Sioux Falls level competition and dominated. But what did he do when he got to Washington? Oh, well, he only inherited a team that went 4-8 and was ran by a defensive-minded guy before he got there, had to flip the culture of the team, had to flip the philosophy of the team, and went 25-3 after that. a national
Yeah.
championship appearance in year 2. And, gentlemen, one of only 2 coaches since the inception of the college football playoffs to win a playoff game without satisfying the blue chip ratio. Kalin DeBoer is a sensational coach, one of the best in the nation, 7-0 against Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, and Lincoln Riley. Need I say more?
Facts.
Dang, guy. Ty dropped the mic on that one. That was a beast. I like it, man. I'm going to add to that 104-12. That's all you got to say. Overall record.
Are you serious?
Right? In tournaments, let's just be honest here. Like, we look back at his playoff experience, because now we want to talk about championships, and we do need to go through playoff potentially, right? You know what his record is in playoffs? Same type of format we're about to see. 17-2. 17-2. And those 2 come from real early on, basically when he's learning to be a head coach over at where he's at in Dakotas, right? And I'll tell you this, with him overall, you look at him as Sioux Falls and what he got to learn. He comes from a coach over there that's legendary. I've talked about him before. Phenomenal mentor over there. And from there, you also get a look at his progression and who he gets to kind of coach under. Right, he gets some time under Tedford, and he gets some time under who is it? Tom Allen, or it's not Tom
Indiana.
Allen? Who is it? Tom Allen, correct?
Yeah, he was at Indiana. Yeah.
Yep. So you look at that, and you look at these concepts that he gets to learn, and then number one. I'm just going to leave it at this. I don't think there's very many coaches who are willing to just step in and say, I will accept the position of coming behind the greatest college coach, or who everyone considers the greatest college coach of all time. This guy, and he's not scared. He's focused. He's himself. He's calm. This dude's a scary dude to coach against, though. I'll tell you that, because when you got somebody who's calm, cool, and collected, when shit hits the fan, that's the guy you want next to you in war. That's the guy you want next to you in battle. That's the guy you want to say, hey, make sure you ride with me, dog, because when we get in there, I need you ready. Kalin DeBoer is ready, and you're going to see it in the way he comes out. And I tell you, I think there's a good chance we're seeing the next really impressive dynasty at Alabama.
Man, this is why I wanted these guys on. This is why. We just broke down that entire coaching staff. And the only thing I'll add to that is, when you add everything these young men just said, you add in a Jeff Allen, a David Ballou, Ron McKeefrey, Courtney Morgan. When you add these guys into that, a Jay Nunez, championships are on the way. Championships are on the way. Don't doubt it. Don't doubt it. Give them their patience. Let them get in, do their thing. Wait for the season. Let me end this by saying thank you to my brothers. I appreciate you guys. You guys' analysis is always on top. That's why I love doing videos with you guys. I learn something every time I bring you guys on, man. Ty, tell the people where they can find you.
Gotta unmute myself before I embarrass myself and start talking into a muted microphone. But you can find me over at Around the Table Sports. And if I'm over there live, there is a 99% chance that the gentlemen on this panel are over there with me. We like to have our group therapy sessions on June 13th, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be at Bleacher Report talking about the state of the SEC and which SEC teams have a legitimate shot to bring it home this year. And on top of that, gentlemen, Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, less than a week away, we will be continuing our live stream from Monday talking about the SEC and the Big Ten. Both these gentlemen will be on the panel with me. You don't want to miss that.
Jameer, where can they find you, Coach?
100, guys. I appreciate that, man. Again, you can find me on these kind of different platforms. Really find me Around the Table Sports. I'll jump on with Ty. Might find me on some other ones, but now here, right? Just my humble opinion. Love it with Coach Sean, JMHO Sports. And you can hit me up on Twitter if you guys want to do something or collab. I'm wide open, and I love it. And I love kind of teaming up with new people. It's a lot of fun, and I'll just get on and chit chat. So shoot me a message, say what's up. Always looking for opportunities. But most of all, I love getting on, talking football with my brothers. Right. And in general, Coach Jay, miss you, man. You know what? Big shout out to everybody on these different platforms in general who are doing their thing. And I think one thing I want to say real quick is remember to support everybody. Remember to give everybody that encouragement. Remember every day that at the Alabama, the standard is the standard. Hold
That's a fact.
yourself to that standard in how you go about your day, how you treat people, and the type of way you build relationships. Give
Yeah.
those coaches and what our coaches say every day. It's all about relationships, networking, and being the best person you can be and building up those around you. You do the same thing as a fan. And I
That's the whole
guarantee
fact.
you, we're going to see the success of this thing go even bigger than what it's already been. Got much respect for these two guys and for everybody out there doing Alabama content. Hit me up, and I enjoy it so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me come on.
Likewise, Jameer. Much appreciated, guys. Much, much appreciated. You can find me at JMHO Sports Talk right here on YouTube and Twitter. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. And last but not least, I'm going to introduce you to our fourth member of the panel, the spinning wheel of doom, the SWOD, the SWAD. Roll Tide to everybody out there.
Roll Tide.
Thank you.